Hey there, Chief Meteorologist Heather Haley here again. I know more of you are starting to see that snow fly. I saw meteorologist Ben Cathy just posted a little video, a couple of flakes flying where he is. We're keeping an eye on things all over the region. So the key here is what you see where you live versus maybe your neighbors. That can vary greatly because, again, this first alert started at late morning as a lot of you just started seeing the snow fall. A leading edge really starting to cut across the valley. We've still got several hours of evolving conditions. So we're keeping an eye on a lot for you here. Definitely want to stress that. Rest of today, here are some of our concerns. I'm going to take this graphic full for you just so you can better see what I'm talking about. Visibility, one of our concerns, absolutely. The weight of the wet snowfall could lead to some new power outages. I know that's particularly a concern in Sevier County, where many are still without power from the early week snowfall. That is definitely still a concern. Roadways, they're going to vary greatly. Now, pre-treated roads, that means you don't have the ice, but you're still going to get snowfall on it. Keep in mind that's what it affects. So that is definitely a concern. And then, of course, those accumulations, light, moderate to heavy in parts of our area. As I mentioned, visibility, I wanted to show you we're already getting some of that visibility issue to crop up. You can see it's a little hazy with that snowfall in the southern valley. So what this is actually showing you is where the snowfall is heavier, it drops your visibility. You can't see as far. So that's why that was one of our concerns on our first alert weather day. Just something to keep in mind. Although, of course, it can look pretty. That's absolutely the case. That's why I want to go to Campbell County. We actually have Erika Lunsford there, keeping an eye on those conditions. So let's take a view here. And Erika, I tell you, since we took an update from you earlier to now, it is amazing how much has changed, and just a good reminder. Give us a kind of a recap of what you've seen since you first got to Campbell County earlier this morning.
Heather, a lot has changed. So we start seeing flurries around 11:30 today, and here we are just over an hour and a half later at 1 o'clock, and it is really coming down. A lot of things that we notice here is the visibility. I heard you mention visibility. We were able to see cars actually coming towards us this direction off of Appalachian Highway outside of Jacksboro Middle School, but now that visibility is so hard to see those cars coming back in. Snow is all over the grass here. At first we had like a light dusting, but now it's really started to stick. Also, the roads, they were wet maybe about 15 or 20 minutes ago, but now we are starting to see that light dusting on the road here as well. So things are continuing to change out here. People are driving slow, being cautious. The crews are out. We spoke to them earlier today. Campbell County, they are out on the roads, treating the roads right now. They rolled out maybe about 11:30, shortly after the flurry started coming down. They were rolling out, treating the roads, but they're asking for everyone to be safe. If you don't have to go anywhere, stay at home and let them do their jobs. They have a lot of difficulties here because there's lots of higher elevation roads that they have to take care of. So they are asking for people to, especially in those areas, to stay out of the way while they do their job. Heather?
No, that's a really good reminder. And I love, Erika, again, we're just kind of seeing it pile up. I saw some reminders too. Folks around you, their headlights are on. Remember, with that visibility issue, you got to make sure people can see you. So that's really good. I could see that there in the background. So I know you're very cold. We'll let you get into the warm car. You guys be safe out there as well. We've got crews all over. So thank you, Erika, for giving us that live update from Campbell County. Again, we're keeping an eye on things all across the region. I actually wanted to queue up the snowfall so far. I'm updating this in our WVLT First Alert weather app every hour, just so you can kind of get an idea. Maybe you work in Knoxville, but you commute to Campbell County. So that view right there, you're going, okay, that's a big difference, right? Because that leading edge of just changing over from the little sleet pellets that we saw about an hour ago in Knoxville to now some of those snowflakes, that's what you're seeing that changeover happen. Monroe County, McMinn County, you're seeing it build up already. Of course, we've had some accumulating snows really adding up in Cumberland County in the winter storm warning there. That's to be expected. But even then, see that little tilt reaching up from the plateau to northeast Tennessee? That's why that winter storm warning reached up across our area. So something to keep in mind. We can actually go ahead and take this full just so you can see a little bit better. So I'm not in your way as much, but highlighting some of those nuances of that leading edge of lighter snowfall starting to accumulate more. And like I said, we'll update this for you every hour as we move forward with today and then tonight. That'll be winding down later on tonight. But to keep in mind, big picture, how much we're expecting. Again, in that 2 to 4 inch range easily. I expect to see some isolated spikes in that snowfall on the plateau to southeastern Kentucky and across northeast Tennessee, and of course the Smokies. Kind of jumps over the valley and starts snowing in the mountains first and then starts to fill in, which is what we're seeing now, is that fill-in factor as we see that light snowfall starting now and adding up through the rest of today. A little lighter further southern valley, still some good 1 to 2 plus inch snowfall in parts of the valley to northeast Tennessee. So that's where we're seeing a lot of changes moving forward. In fact, here, downtown webcam right on cue. There's that snowfall. So this is actually a live look right now from the Children's Hospital camera. We've got it perched right up on the corner there, so I even turned it to look west. Knew that snow was coming in from the west, wanted to see it coming in. So that's something else to keep in mind. Those views rapidly change, but of course right now the roads are fine in Knoxville. But just like you heard Erika mention, it started there closer to 11 a.m. and here we are at 1 p.m. So in 2 hours time, you can see what a difference that makes. That's what we were talking about, road conditions rapidly changing. It's also now 30 in La Follette. It has already dropped a few degrees. Knoxville still hanging out at the high for the day. 37 Knoxville. Leading edge of snow comes in and those temperatures start dropping. So it's 27 now in Williamsburg, 28 in Crossville to Oneida. Of course, it feels colder, right? It can't just be this cold. No, it's got to feel even colder. So something to keep in mind. Let me bring out that timeline for you, because over the next hour, that leading edge of light snow and that sleet, like I said, there's some sleet pellets mixed in here. We saw that for sure. But that's going to continue on into the foothills, far northeast Tennessee over the next hour. So that's where that advances in, and you see more of those changes. To walk you through that timeline here over the next couple of hours, we get that 100% coverage of our area in snowfall this afternoon. So we're still on track for that. Today, midday was the start of our first alert because it was the start of that snowfall transition, and then it becomes widespread this afternoon. And that's why we really have more impacts to those roads from hour to hour through the afternoon. That's why I'm still here. That's why Kyle Granger is actually here as well. And then we'll continue with our team coverage this evening. Meteorologist Ben Cathy, like I said, he updated his Twitter showing a little video of some of that light snow in Knox, and he'll be in here in just a little bit. But continuing that snowfall, 4, 5, 6 p.m. looks much the same. It's still snowing. That's where that adds up. Those brighter purple spots are just the heavier bands of snow. So that's where you can get a big spike in one side of town to the other. There's that back edge around 6 o'clock, becoming a little bit more scattered on the southern plateau, starting to retreat back just a bit from this Crossville area to Wartburg area. Still snowing in parts of Knox County to the mountains to the far northeast Tennessee area. Still snowing again in the foothills to mountains of far northeast Tennessee around 8. 9 o'clock, still snowing in the Smokies. So for those of you saying, well, what about my town? Again, this is your timeline. We got you covered on that snowfall potential as well. So then to switch gears, this does become scattered to spotty tonight. Somebody commented on my Twitter earlier and he said, it's getting down into the teens tonight. I don't see that still adding up to much. No, by the time we get to the teens, it's only spotty snow. Most of this is this afternoon and evening and early tonight. So in addition to what we've already had, you can see some of those spikes of 1 to 2 plus snowfall potential in that southern to central valley. I tried highlighting some of these different shades here, give you a better idea on the variation from really even one side of town to the other. Like I said, I grew up here. My husband did too. Actually, we like to compare notes to what it was like in his part of town when I was a kid. South Knoxville, I was in West Knoxville. Now you can see some of those variations from one side of Cumberland County to the other, one side of Scott County, Morgan County, Fentress. Right, that's where you see some of these big spikes. It even jumps up, of course, big time on the northern plateau, across northeast Tennessee and southeastern Kentucky, 4, 5, 6 inches. That's why it's a winter storm warning for you. Winter weather advisories continue from the Knoxville area north and east, getting into that 2 to some 3-inch snowfall potential here. And that's what we'll be monitoring as well, because you still have to get all this headed your way, right, for this afternoon to evening. Like I just showed you that timeline, I kept pointing out, still snow in northeast. That's why, because this is all still headed your way for later on. And then, of course, those bursts of heavier snow into the Smokies. Actually, meteorologist Kyle Granger has been keeping an eye on things in the studio as well. So I know he was getting some updates from viewers. Make sure you send in your updates, your views. What are you seeing? How is it impacting your area? Share that with us through the WVLT First Alert Weather app or in the WVLT Weather Vols Facebook group. So we kind of have 2 different options for you. That comes to the whole team. So that way, if I'm busy right now, Kyle can see your photo. Our producers will see your photo or video. So just keep that in mind as we're keeping an eye on things. Here, for example, is one of those updates from Rebecca and Speedwell of that snowfall. I mean, look at those big fat flakes. That's that wet snow. It all sticks together. It kind of clumps up as it's coming down. So these are the kind of things we would love to see from your neck of the woods. That's what we want to see. Please share them, because conditions are changing rapidly. So use caution from now to an hour from now, 2 hours from now. Absolutely use caution. Dropping temperatures again. Knoxville's kind of done heating up. That snow moves in and temperatures start dropping. It does go from some slushy puddles on treated roads. All right, a lot of us got to drive back roads to get to the treated roads. So that's just something to keep in mind as we are monitoring things here across our area. Now, we will have some patchy ice even in tomorrow morning when it's in the teens. So all in all, what we'll be monitoring is that changeover to then what'll be scattered to spotty snow showers later tonight, and then that patchy ice risk because of those temperatures. I mean, here's a quick look at Friday's planner. 16 in the morning. By this point, we'll have a few flurries. They just kind of fall out of the clouds when it's that cold, to be completely honest. They don't have to do anything. They just fall right out. 16 in the morning, 23 at noon. High tomorrow's 30 degrees for a high. Y'all, that's a normal low for this time of year. 30 degrees for the high. Feeling colder though, that northwesterly wind, 5 to 10 miles per hour. So keep that in mind. Let's go to Kyle Granger. As I mentioned, he's been keeping an eye on the actual updates from you guys. We love seeing them. We really appreciate it. So Kyle, why don't you give us a little recap on what has been sent in so far?
Yeah, we started earlier this morning where we didn't have very much in the way that we could show you in terms of pictures, but as these bands of snow have gone through places like Cumberland County, over towards Morgan County, Fentress County, we've started to see what images we're seeing here up in Speedwell from these big fat flakes that have been flying in this particular neighborhood, just as Heather was so clearly talking about from Rebecca. Other images, this coming from Deer Lodge. Diane sharing this video with us. You can see a short amount of time, we got that dusting on the ground, and the accumulations have been continuing here at least for the past little while. Some other pictures. This one is from Robbins, where we've got that snow that was falling in your neighborhood, collecting on those grassy surfaces on the decks there. We've been monitoring I-40 through parts of Roane County through the course of the morning and into the afternoon. You can see here still the roadway looking a little slick through there. Perhaps TDOT crews have been coming out over Rockwood Mountain, where we have some trouble at from time to time, doing some more treating on that roadway. But look here off in the grassy surfaces off in the distance, already a nice accumulation. And it was during the noon hour that we could just see where those cars had trekked right through the roadway. So nonetheless, when those bands come through, we could have some areas that manage to see that accumulation on the roadway, get a little bit of slush, and then you'll have to drive through it if you're the only one that's been through there in quite some time. This is another vantage point of I-40 West in Roane County. You can see nothing on the grassy surfaces here or on the roadway. The difference is that you get when you're in those higher elevated communities, like when you're up on the mountain on Rockwood Mountain. Snow in Pleasant Hill this morning, kind of hard to see the bird feeders off in the distance. I love capturing that through the 9 o'clock hour. That was already 9 o'clock in the morning. Here we are at Wartburg with more decks being covered with those perhaps pellets of sleet and also some snow. So some of you will have to get out and about and do a little bit of driving through the course of the afternoon. Not highly recommended, but if you do, we want to make sure that you are as safe as possible. Make sure you're checking your tires. You want adequate inflation there. Also, make sure you remove the ice and the snow that it's on your car. If it's on the mirrors, you can't see to get out. If it's on the windshields, that obstructs your view. Wanting to make sure you have all of the views that you need, because we're going to be having these areas where you go into those sheets of ice and snow and slush that will be accumulating on different roadways. And of course, skidding is a possibility. You may have a roadway that has not been traveled over the last little while, and so you may be the first to cross that path and definitely will be running into some of those areas. And bridges on Friday morning could be some of the worst trouble spots, because you've got air going above, air going below. They really can freeze over from time to time, and so those patches of ice become a little more treacherous for the bridges and the overpasses through the course of our Friday morning. So that's what's going on in terms of those pictures. We invite you to share them on the WVLT First Alert Weather app. We have a Facebook group with the weather vols. You can go see what everyone's doing with their family and friends, and some of us that maybe are working, enjoy your pictures a little more because we can't get out and enjoy it. So the weather app and also that Facebook group, make sure you're sharing that with us through the afternoon. We'd love to see it. Heather?
Such a good point there, Kyle. Thank you. Wanted to show you too where Kyle was just highlighting all these different photos and videos y'all have been sending in. Keep them coming. I know some folks here at the station just ran over and said, it's snowing here now. We kind of turn into little kids too sometimes. It's okay to get excited, but that's where that variation of that leading edge of sleet to light snow to bands of snowfall continue. You can see it's just trying to change over to a little bit of a mix to some raindrops here in the southern valley. That was something we were talking about. A little bit of that mixing to raindrops right there going up into far northeast Tennessee. So there's still a lot of transition, a lot of change to happen. I want to stress that not only do you want to make sure and send in your photos and videos, but keep up with the latest. All right, here's a quick look at our homepage. If you go to wvlt.tv/weather, you can read our latest forecast. You can also get a recap of that forecast, or go ahead and download our First Alert Weather app. We actually have a quick link right there, iPhone or Android, or just search WVLT in your app store, and we've got you covered, especially with some big changes on into those teens tomorrow morning. If you are headed out anywhere today, play it safe, use caution, and we'll keep you updated throughout the afternoon. We'll send you messages from that app as well.